hello everyone. Welcome to the International Society for Quality of Life Studies 2020 Virtual Awards Ceremony. We are pleased to have everyone with us today. My name is Jill Johnson. I'm the Executive Director for ISQOLS. We'll go ahead and begin by introducing our nominating committee. We have our chair, Kai Ludwigs, representing Europe, our other chair, Daniel Sheck, representing Asia, Joe Sergi, representing North America, Mahar Mangahas, representing Asia as well, Farhan Casas, representing Europe, Habib Tilioni, representing Africa, and Graciela Tonon, representing South America. For our Best Dissertation Awards Committee, we have Jan Delhay and Francesco Saracino, and also for our Best Annual ARQOL Awards Committee, the selection chairs was Daniel Sheck and Esther Otten. We'll go ahead and proceed with the awards. And our first award is the Best Dissertation Award, which Francesco Saracino is going to present.
Right, good afternoon, or morning, or evening, depending where you're connected from. I am honored to nominate for the Best Dissertation Awards for the first prize Mariana Amorim for her dissertation on quality of life in parents of very preterm infants, insights from family integrated care. Her dissertation basically deals with a major public health priority. Preterm infants are at high risk of neonatal morbidity, and its associated complications are one of the leading causes of global death among children under 5 years of age. A preterm childbirth and the ensuing infant's admission in a neonatal intensive care unit affects family environment and quality of life for many years. So it's not just for the baby itself, but it involves also the larger group of people directly related to the baby. Most studies about the factors influencing the quality of life of parents of preterm infants have excluded fathers and neglected the analysis of structural levels, offering a one-sided perspective that fails to assess dimensions related with shared governance for health, limiting the opportunities of co-producing family integrated healthcare systems. Furthermore, there is a paucity of sensitive instruments adapted to the singular experience of parenting a very preterm infant. This evidences the need to gain a better understanding about both parents' experiences, which can be achieved through mixed method research. Exploring the quality of life of parents of very preterm infants and its associated factors requires for a detailed analysis of their experiences, needs and sources of stress, not only during the NICU hospitalization, but also after discharge. Such in-depth perspectives will allow the identification of parents at risk for immediate and extended physical and emotional burden, and the reduction of social inequalities and stress associated with caring for a very preterm infant. On the basis of of the various studies, well, Mariana proposed a very cohesive and encompassive thesis which deals with with an important problem from an original perspective, and we thought that this was a very interesting plus that was worth our first prize.
Very good.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm very pleased and honored to take part in this ceremony, and I would like to thank the Best Dissertation Award Committee from the International Society for Quality of Life Studies for this recognition of my work. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank my supervision team, and especially my principal supervisor, Professor Susana Silva, for all the support, the teachings, and the guidance during the PhD program. And finally, I would like to deeply thank to all families, parents, and babies who took part of our study. Thank you very much to all of you.
Congratulations. Well, I guess now we move forward to the second prize and to the honorable mention. Basically, as you I guess you all know this is the second year of the Best Dissertation Award at ISQOLS, and every year we receive a number of submissions. It's so far it has been rather difficult to try to pick up really the first best. Sometimes it obliges us to make difficult decisions. And that's also why we are very happy to have the second prize and then the honorable mention. For this year, we nominate for the second prize of the Best Dissertation Award Dr. David Newman for his work on the dynamics of well-being in daily life, a multi-level perspective. David Newman is now postdoc fellow at the University of California, Department of Psychiatry. I think he will now take the floor.
Great. Well, thank you very much for this second place prize. I'm very honored. I'm very grateful and appreciative. I'm sorry we couldn't be meeting in person, but I'm really grateful for this. And I thought I would just take a quick minute and explain a little bit about my research. Generally, my dissertation work. My dissertation was completed at the University of Southern California, and my PhD advisors were Norbert Schwartz and Arthur Stone, and I'm really grateful for all of their guidance and mentorship. My research, quite broadly, is interested in well-being in daily life with a particular methodological focus on daily diary and experience sampling method studies. My dissertation, in my dissertation work, I tried to show how what happens in daily life often or may look different from what you see in experiments or from cross-sectional studies. And in the first chapter of my dissertation, I examined nostalgia and well-being in daily life. And I found that using daily diary and experience sampling method studies that people were generally unhappy on days when they felt nostalgic. And this stands in contrast to much of the experimental work, which shows that nostalgia tends to be quite beneficial when you think about your most nostalgic experience. And I showed that people's most nostalgic experience is a relatively positive one, whereas most nostalgic feelings in daily life are not quite so beneficial. And in my second chapter of my dissertation, I examined daily states of well-being and compared them to global evaluations of well-being. And in this work, I found that daily states of well-being were less intense. They were generally more mundane than your most than your well-being when you think about your life quite broadly. So life seems more meaningful, more satisfying. It also seems more stressful when you think about your life broadly than when you think about what goes on in your daily life. So that was the general idea from my dissertation work, and that's the line of work that I continue to work on. And once again, I'm really grateful for this award, really thankful. Yeah, so I wish we could all meet in person, but it's great to see many of your faces on Zoom.
It's not the end of the world.
Yes, before going on to the honorable mention, I just wish to add my little touch to the award to Dr. Newman, just to mention that I personally really admire his career, in the sense that since his early studies, he made very conscious steps towards studying where he could really pursue his interest. And I think this is really admirable in a young scholar. It really, congratulations, David, for your achievement.
Oh, thank you very much.
And finally, I am very honored to introduce the receiver of the honorable mention of our Best Dissertation Award, Dr. Kuan Yu Heng, from Duke Medical School, who submitted a dissertation on quality of life of patients with spondyloarthritis, and with a little bit of luck, he will pronounce it better than me.
Unfortunately, Dr. Kwan is not with us this morning, but I think you did pronounce it correctly.
Okay.
But he does send his regards and graciously accepted this award. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And thank you to Francesco and to Jan and Stefan and Peter for their diligent work in reviewing all of the many different dissertations. I know that's a taxing job, so thank you all. At this point, we will move on to the Young Scholar Award, and we will ask Graciela if she would.
Okay, thank you very much, Shil. Good day for all of you in the different parts of the world and different schedules. Well, the Young Scholar Award, the basic requirement for eligibility to be designated a Young Scholar shall be the evidence of a substantial contribution to quality of life and well-being and happiness research, and has completed her doctoral work during the last 7 years. Well, in this opportunity, we nominated Scott Clouthier. I think, unfortunately, he can't join us today, but well, I would tell something about Scott. Scott has published a number of peer-review articles, book chapters, and popular press articles focused on engaging opportunities for happiness via sustainable approaches to living. He serves on the board of ISQOLS and has co-organized one of its youth conferences. He has co-edited a volume from young scholars, contributed to quality of life studies, and has mentored a graduating number of graduate students focused on engaging our collective state of being. He has been researching the links between sustainability and happiness for 15 years, specifically serving communities in developing their own version of happy neighborhoods. In addition to his research skills, he continues to hone his practical skill for engaging happiness, intuitive guidance, and spiritual coaching. Scott believes that the happy lives rest in accepting all that is and embracing each moment as a gift. He feels that collectively we can use sciences as a tool not to control our future, but to recognize, catalyze, and support natural processes unfolding in front of us each day for an improved quality of life for all beings. Scott worked in the Arizona State University as an assistant professor, and his PhD is in biological and environmental engineering with minors in systems engineering and human behavior and design, Cornell University, Ithaca, New York. He has 27 publications, 4 publications in review, 2 books, 7 book chapters, 4 manuscripts in preparation, 5 technical reports, 5 contributing publications, 7 research-funded grants, 21 professional presentations, 14 conference presentations. So congratulations, Scott, and thank you very much to be at this call with all of us. Let's continue with the next one.
Thank you, Graciela, and congratulations to Scott. Our next award is the Research Fellow Award. Unfortunately, the presenter for this, Kai Ludwigs, is not able to be here, so I will be presenting on his behalf. The basic requirement for eligibility to be designated a research fellow shall be evidence of a substantial contribution to quality of life, well-being, happiness research. Our first award recipient for 2020 is Peter Kraus. Peter is a senior researcher at the German Institute for Economic Research, DIW in Berlin, German Socioeconomic Panel, SOEP. He has a PhD in social sciences at Ruhr University in Germany, and his title was Measuring Poverty in Unified Germany Using the Data of the German Socioeconomic Panel, the SOEP. He's published around 160 articles, very impressive, with the British Journal of Sociology, European Sociology Review, Social Indicators Research, and he's the co-editor of 6 books and counting. His service focus is on data management, SOEP, providing long-running high-level micro-data on socioeconomic inequalities and subjective well-being. His research focus on socioeconomic inequalities and dynamics, multi-dimensional, measurement of deprivation and wealth, social indicators and quality of life, capabilities and subjective well-being. He is, of course, a member of the ISQOLS Executive Committee and Board. He's a member of the editorial board with the Social Indicators Research with Springer, and he was being humble with this bio, as he has many, many other things that we could have added, but he shortened it and condensed it for us. But I know he's with us today. And Peter, if you would like to go ahead and say a few words, you're welcome to.
Thanks, Jill, for your kind remarks. So just a few words. I've spent probably most of my working lifetime with service tasks, arranging and providing high-level longitudinal data for primary research methods and social policy applications. I was also able to handle these tasks not only in a just technical sense, but also to perhaps unusual principle that the best data are provided by those who also use them themselves to improve substantial analysis, to foster research methods and tools, and to generate social policy applications. The genuine multidimensional and global perspective of ISQOLS and its double intention to foster high-level research, tools and methods together with practical social policy applications perhaps helped and provided us and increased somehow human well-being in all its dimensions and connotations everywhere around the world. And it is this perspective where I want to thank ISQOLS for providing us. And this has always accompanied and served as a fundamental guideline also for my work. So I'm very pleased and honored receiving this award. Thanks a lot to ISQOLS.
Thank you. Well deserved, and congratulations.
Thanks.
Next we have Mahar. Are you with us, Mahar? He's going to present our next award.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's my privilege to present the A2020 Research Fellow Award to Christian Suter. Christian got his doctorate at the University of Zurich in Switzerland. He's Swiss. He's full professor of sociology at the University of Neuchâtel. And since 2012, he's been director of the Institute of Sociology of the University of Neuchâtel. His research focus is on social indicators, social reporting, and methodological issues of quality of life and well-being measurement, as well as on social inequality, wealth and debt, and world society. He has had 22 approved research projects and research grants, 5 prizes and awards for books and articles and fellowships. He's published more than 100 articles, 32 books, and edited volumes, most recently Wealths with an S, and Subjective Well-Being, and The Middle Class in World Society. He's editor of the Swiss Social Report / A Panorama of Swiss Society. He's co-editor of Social Indicators Research since 2017. He's a member of the ISQOLS Board of Directors. And he's current president of the Research Committee on Social Indicators of the International Sociological Association. Congratulations to Christian Suter.
Thank you, Mahar.
Christian.
I have just left the meeting at the Swiss Federal Statistical Office. Like our ISQOL ceremony, this has been an online meeting, which has made it possible for me to join you just now. So it's incredible times we are witnessing. I had problems to connect me to the Swiss Federal Statistical Office. I had no problems to connect me to ISQOLS. So I'm very, very grateful for this award, and I'm extremely grateful to ISQOLS, since it was thanks to the network of ISQOLS that I came into contact with many people and colleagues who inspired me and with whom I had the opportunity to collaborate in one way or the other over the past years. Most of my work, like the publications Mara mentioned, but also the work I'm doing now with the Federal Statistical Office, which is the panorama of Swiss society, actually. So most of my work is based on collaborations, and many of them developed as a result of ISQOLS activities. So actually, when I remembered when I got into contact first time with ISQOLS, this was in 2006 when I participated at the ISQOLS conference in Grahamstown. And I attended the Grahamstown ISQOLS conference because it was just a few days before the World Congress of Sociology in Durban, also in South Africa. So in Grahamstown, I've got to know Valerie Muller, I don't know if she's with us, who organized that ISQOL conference at Rhodes University. And then I learned that she, like me, did her studies in sociology at the University of Zurich. So we never met in Zurich, never in Switzerland. We met us in Africa, in Grahamstown, and we needed ISQOLS to get into contact. So what I want to emphasize is this very important role of ISQOLS in general and the ISQOLS conferences and workshops in particular in bringing quality of life research together and connecting them all over the world. Sometimes across very large distances, sometimes very short, as with Valerie and me at least, the cultural distances, and today even across different time zones. And I'm convinced that this role of global connecting researchers has become even more important within the current context of COVID-19. So many thanks to ISQOLS for this. Thank you.
Congratulations, Christian.
Thanks.
Thank you, Christian. Congratulations. Next, we will present our Distinguished Quality of Life Researcher Award, and that will be presented by Joe Sergi.
Yes, thank you, Jill. Well, as you know, the Distinguished Quality of Life Researcher Award is the highest honor that ISQOLS can bestow on a scholar who has a lifetime record of exemplary scholarly accomplishments in quality of life studies and well-being research. It is with great pleasure to recognize Sir Richard Laird as recipient of the Quality of Life, of the Distinguished Quality of Life Researcher Award. Allow me a few minutes to say something about his distinguished record of accomplishments in quality of life studies and well-being research. Richard Laird is a labor economist who worked for most of his life on how to reduce unemployment and inequality. He is also one of the first economists to work on happiness, and his main current interest is how better mental health could improve our social and economic life. In 1980, he wrote, according to Richard Easterlin, the first paper to focus specifically on the policy implications of empirical research on happiness. In 2005, he wrote Happiness Lessons for a New Science, which was published in 20 languages. He continues to find significant effects of relative income on happiness and emphasize the importance of non-income variables on aggregate happiness. In 2018, he co-authored a book called The Origins of Happiness, The Science of Well-Being Over the Life Course. In 2009, he co-authored the Good Childhood Report, which emphasized the importance of early intervention to improve the mental health of children. The report's proposal led to the universal introduction of evidence-based treatment in child mental health. He is also actively involved in promoting mental health in schools, most recently through Healthy Minds, a 4-year secondary school curriculum in life skills, which was trialed in 30 schools. In 2014, he wrote a popular book on mental health, Thrive, The Power of Evidence-Based Psychological Therapies. Jointly with David Clark, And the book argues that spending more money on helping people to recover and stay well would actually strengthen the economy. Like many others, Laird has pushed governments to measure the well-being of the population, was delighted when the British Prime Minister David Cameron announced in November 2010 that well-being would be a major government objective and be regularly measured in their national statistics. That's terrific. In 2018, with the support of What Works Center of Wellbeing, he revived the all-party parliamentary group on well-being economics, which published their report on spending review to increase well-being, an open letter to the Chancellor, calling for a major change of direction. The policy should be targeted at well-being of the people, not economic growth. Worldwide, there is now a search for new models of progress. Professor Laird chaired the World Economic Forum Global Agenda Council on Health and Well-being, which produced a report at Davos in January 2012, which is titled Well-being and Global Success. The OECD has for some years been attempting to redefine progress, and in July 2011, the UN General Assembly advocated greater priority for policies that promote happiness. Richard co-edits with Jeff Sachs and John Halliwell the World Happiness Report. He was also a member of the Legatum Commission of Wellbeing Policy chaired by Gus O'Donnell. Its report on well-being and policy was published in March 2014. Richard Laird's concern with how to promote a happier society led him to co-found a new movement called Action for Happiness, which was launched in spring 2011. Members from all backgrounds pledged to live so as to create much happiness as they can and as little misery. The movement now reaches over 1 million people online and has already run over 400 courses with 6,000 participants in 13 countries. Drawing on all his experience and on the evidence now available from the science of happiness, in January 2020, Richard published Can We Be Happier? Evidence and Ethics. It introduces the happiness principles and presents the latest data to show how this idea might yet transform society and replace the destructively competitive values that have dominated in recent years. On unemployment, skills, and inequality. On unemployment, in the 80s, Laird and colleagues developed the Laird-Nickel model of how the level of unemployment is determined. This has become the most commonly used model by European economists and governments. On inequality, his work shows the key role of education in influencing the income of individuals and families. He has been a lifelong advocate of better education, including apprenticeships for the less academic youngsters. And the case he made with Hillary Steedman have led to major increases in apprenticeships and the 2009 Apprenticeship Act. Other roles. In 1985, he founded the Employment Institute, which has played a major role in pushing the ideas of welfare to work. He was chairman of the European Commission's Macroeconomic Policy Group during the 80s, and from 1991 to 1997, he was a part-time economic advisor to the Russian government, and from 1997 to 2001, a part-time consultant to the British government on welfare to work and vocational education. 2005, the British government accepted his proposal on psychological therapy, and since then, he has, as the national advisor, been heavily involved in implementing the government program of improving access to psychological therapies. In 2010, this was extended to cover all children. 2000, he has made a member of the House of Lords, and until 2019, he was a member of its Economic Affairs Committee. In 2014, Laird proposed with 6 other colleagues a global Apollo program of internationally coordinated research to produce clean electricity cheaper than coal-based electricity within 10 years, which provided the model for Mission Innovation, the major international program launched by Presidents Obama, Modi, Holland, at the UNFCCC in Paris in November 2015. What a record of accomplishments. On that very positive note, I'll turn the podium to Sir Richard Laird to say a few words. Sir Laird, the podium is yours.
Well, thank you so much. Goodness me. I'm not sure that there's any more to say, but I did want to say a few things. Can everybody see me and hear me? You can, good. Okay, so it's a huge honor to be given this. I really appreciate it. I've always been a huge admirer of the Society, and I've thought of it as really in the forefront of what you might call the campaign for well-being as the central concern of social science and of public policy. I do think that we have made a huge amount of progress, and perhaps I could just start with a story. You mentioned Action for Happiness, which we founded in 2011. And when we appointed the director, one of the candidates had searched the web for any other organization with the word happiness in its title. And the answer that came back was, your search for happiness has produced no results. So we're in a better place, much better place now. And I think the progress is very much influenced by the groundwork which the Society has been doing over all these decades. The progress, I would say, greatest among citizens, much more interest in the quality of life, much more psychological awareness, more interest in mental health, and of course, very much more interest in the environment. Big improvement in the attitude of businesses to the importance of workers' well-being and mental health, but also, of course, to the environment, much enshrined in the US Business Roundtable statement in recent years, which has, I think, changed the ground of capitalism. And then thirdly, of course, amongst governments, the OECD has made the first running on measurement, but it never grasped the nettle of what is the actual, is that really the objective? It just measured it. Interestingly, but little noticed, the EU, under the Finnish presidency, issued from the Council of Ministers a statement last October requesting member countries, this is quotes, to put people's well-being at the center of policy design. Now that is something we really need to exploit, that phrase, and push it home. But of course, it's a big struggle to turn that into a reality. But I think that the COVID situation has created a new context in which we can make really quite considerable progress. So one, it's obviously made people, everybody, think more about what really matters in their life. That's a huge step forward. But two, it's shown that things we never considered possible, especially from governments, are possible. So on that basis, I think we can now make a massive progress towards putting quality of life at centre stage. I would say there are three things which need to happen. One is we need a sort of high level pressure brought on governments through, obviously through the media and other methods, to make well-being into the explicit goal of government and embody that in things like how the budget priorities are set and so on. And I'm talking to a few people, and if any of you are interested, please tell me, about the possibility of having an actual organization for promoting that as a specific single object organization. I know that some of you are very much in favor of multidimensional approach to these issues, rather than the single dimensional approach, which, as Joseph more or less implied, is the line I've been pursuing. I think that we shouldn't think of them in competition. We're trying to do the same thing. But I do think that there are two huge differences and two huge advantages, rather, in thinking of ultimately some concept of well-being as the overarching good and all the other dimensions of quality of life as feeding into it and having weights that correspond to the strength of their effects on this overarching variable. I think the argument, there's a philosophical argument that if you want to have a coherent policy, you can actually only have one objective and everything else has to be valued in terms of its impact on it. There's also a political issue. I think we're struggling against a very simple and bad idea, which is essentially GDP. And I think the way to replace a simple and bad idea is with a good idea that is also simple and therefore can displace another simple and bad idea. So I'm very much in favor of the use of the word well-being or quality of life, but thinking of it as a single measure of the quality of overall experience of the population. So there's pressure to get that accepted as the goal. Then, of course, there's the development of the information base to enable governments to make that their goal. And that's where all of us come in. There's obviously naturalistic evidence, but what we really need more of is field experiments of ways to change things, where we do a proper follow-up in a proper controlled way to show whether what we think makes a difference actually will make a difference. And at the same time, of course, we have to develop a workforce of people who know how to do this kind of research. Terribly important. That's why the society is so important. And then, of course, we've got to have more citizens' organizations. But I think the work of the society is really, really important. I think it really has changed the world, and it can continue to make the world a better place. So thank you so much for the honor you've done me.
Thank you, Sir Richard Layard. An extremely impressive history and career. Thank you so much for joining us and for your remarks, and congratulations again. We will move now to the Best Annual Applied Research and Quality of Life, ARQOL, our official journal, the paper, and that will be presented by Daniel Schick.
Thank you, Jill. So every year we will review the papers in the past year in ARQOL, that is Applied Research in Quality of Life, and then we come up with a recommendation on the best paper. So for last year, we got around 70 papers, and then we form a group composing myself, Richard Estes, Joe Sergi, and also with the help of Angel Clark, Angel Sharp, and also Ken Lang. And eventually we come up with the recommendation that the best annual ARQOL paper award should go to a paper entitled Consume More, Work Longer and Be Unhappy, Possible Social Roots of Economic Crisis. And the paper was written by Francesco Saraceno and Margosata Mikuka. The paper is very interesting because they talk about the negative endogenous growth model. That is, economic systems have crises which lead to unhappiness, a lot of bad things. And then they attempt to propose a framework to monitor this kind of economic growth. So without further ado, please join me to congratulate these two colleagues, and then I will hand over the time to Francisco.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you for the kind introduction, and most of all for awarding to me and Małgorzata Mikucka this prize and this honor. Unfortunately, Małgorzata couldn't join us today, so she asked me to pass her thanks to you and to the organization for this big honor. I think I can speak on behalf of both of us when I say that we are both glad and honored to receive this recognition. Also, I must admit that the news of the award came with surprise. I really did not expect. I thought back to when the first idea of this paper was presented, and I remember that I was about to withdraw the presentation because I was afraid of how it would be accepted by the audience. It presents this literature on negative endogenous growth. It provides some evidence in support of this interpretation. And then it goes on proposing what at the time I labeled the neg-o-meter. So this system of indicators to monitor whether an economic growth could be labeled as negative endogenous growth or not. Mm-hmm. So I was nearly shy of presenting it, but ultimately I did it. I'm very happy I did it because I remember I received actually nice feedback. People enjoyed the presentation and I got a lot of interest. So that's how finally we pushed this project through and we got the paper that it was finally accepted and published in Applied Research in Quality of Life Studies. To me, this is at the same time also a clear example of the openness, of the plurality that people can breathe attending the ISQOLS conferences. Because it's a place where one can bring in new topics, new approaches, and don't fear to be judged for it. Actually, you may ultimately get with a prize for a best paper. To me, this richness is really what attracts me and what makes to ISQOLS, and what, in my opinion, should make ISQOLS attractive to scholars interested in quality of life. For what concerns me, receiving this prize is also very encouraging because it motivates me to push further my research on quality of life, and in particular on the definition of progress beyond GDP. And in particular on the policies to pursue this new idea of progress. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francesco, and congratulations on that award. And hopefully we'll be able to share your paper with our society soon, and you'll get even more feedback. So at this point, we will transition to the final award. This is the award for the betterment of the human condition. And our president, Ming Chang Tsai, will present this award. Ming Chang.
Thank you, Jill. I'm going to introduce the recipient of the award towards the betterment of human condition. The basic requirements for eligibility for this award is a significant accomplishment by an organization, can be private or public sector organization, to the development and the use of quality of life measures in serving its constituency. The award goes to Center for the Study of Living Standards in Canada. The Center for the Study of Living Standard, CSLS, is a national independent nonprofit research organization dedicated to studying the trend and the determinants of productivity, living standards, and the socio-economic well-being. CSLS was founded in August 1995 by Dr. Andrew Sharp. Congratulations to Andrew Sharp and the center. So Andrew, could you please say a few words? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm very honored to receive this award. I think I have a Zoom presentation I will make. Okay. Is the PowerPoint available?
I do. I have the PowerPoint, or I've made you host if you would like to share it from yours, whatever you prefer.
Okay. I guess I can. Seem to have lost it here. Can you put it up, Jill, then?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, I'll just go through it. And the first slide is just an overview of the center. We are, as was mentioned, a national independent nonprofit research organization founded 25 years ago. Our goals are to contribute to a better understanding of trends in living standards and factors determining those trends, and also to contribute to public debate on living standards by developing and advocating policies for expert consensus. We have a number of areas of research. We do a lot of work on measurement issues, on our index of well-being, which I'll mention as well, productivity, labor market, indigenous issues, cross-cutting, and also information and communication technologies. Our major contribution, I believe, to this area is our index of economic well-being. And this was developed by one of our board members back in 1985, Lars Osberg. And he put together the conceptual framework, and I've developed the empirical estimates working on him with him. This is a composite index of economic well-being that has 4 components. We look first at consumption flows, then at wealth stocks, then at equality, and finally at economic security. Now, we know the dangers of composite indicators, and we're stressing this as a bottom line depending on what weights one uses. And so we do a lot of sensitivity analysis to show that the overall trends in economic well-being are very dependent upon the different weights one gives to the components of that. We have a very detailed database of 28 indicators. We have data for 14 OECD countries and all the provinces of Canada. And we've published this in economic journals for many years. So that's really our major contribution. It's been quite influential. The OECD looked at it in the early 80s and the early 2000s in the development of their well-being measures. And in France, it's been particularly influential. So we're very, very pleased to have recognition for this index. I might add that we've had a lot of funding problems for this index where the center doesn't have any core funding, and we basically had to fund it through project resources. So the development of the index, I think, because of that funding issue, has proceeded slower than would have been desirable. I just mentioned one other major project that the center does, and that's our work on productivity. which of course is important for well-being because income is still an important part of well-being and productivity is the source of income growth. We published a journal called the International Productivity Monitor, which is one of the leading journals in the productivity area. So just to conclude, I wanted to just follow up with some of the, on Sir Richard Layard's comments on this shift from a GDP-based metric of measuring economic performance and social progress to a well-being based metric. And this has really been a key development in the last 20 years. And we can see it, for example, here in Canada, where the government of Canada is following the New Zealand lead. The Ministry of Finance has developed a QOL framework for public policy, and is going to be releasing that in the near future. So the government of Canada is taking very seriously this idea that government should be looking at QOL measures in terms of their decision making. So the idea that Sir Layard mentioned of an international group that monitors how governments can do this, I think is really important. So again, I'd really like to thank the Society for this honor. I've been involved in society for over 20 years, and it's been very important for my intellectual development. So I really greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Apologies for putting your PowerPoint up a tad late. I don't know if you can see it on the screen.
Okay. No, I can't.
If there's anything you wanted to mention about the PowerPoint, you're welcome to do so now.
Okay. Well, I think I'll basically conclude that. I mentioned my presentation. I kind of made the major points in the PowerPoint.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you again to everyone who has joined us, and to all of our presenters, everyone on our committee, and all of our committee members, and all of our recipients. Well-deserved awards. All of you have extremely impressive careers, and we are so grateful for your participation with ISQOLS. Thank you all. This concludes our ceremony. This will be put on our YouTube page and shared with our society. So thank you all. We hope that you continue to be involved with ISQOLS, and we hope to see you all next year in Vermont in August of 2021 for our annual conference. Take care. Be well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Stay
Bye-bye,
safe.
Graciela.
Bye.
Bye-bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.